Imagine walking into a room full of powerful people, politicians, CEOs, celebrities. Everyone is laughing, drinking, networking. But right there, in the middle of it all, the daughter of the billionaire hosting the event stands completely invisible. Not because she isn't important, but because she is deaf, and no one, not even her own father, knows how to speak to her. That night, a young interpreter decided enough was enough. And what happened next shook the foundation of Chicago's elite. The story begins with Maya Johnson, a 24-year-old freelance sign language interpreter. Maya wasn't rich, famous, or part of the glamorous circle at the Anderson Foundation Gala, held inside the luxurious Metropolitan Hotel in Chicago. She was just there to do a job, translate speeches for the guests. But as she adjusted her blazer in the bathroom mirror, she couldn't forget the words the event coordinator had spat at her earlier. "Stay invisible. People like you don't belong here." People like you. Maya knew exactly what that meant. Young, black, outsider. She'd heard those words her entire life. Back in the ballroom, golden chandeliers sparkled above hundreds of wealthy guests, clinking champagne glasses. At the center was Richard Anderson, a tech billionaire with a perfectly rehearsed smile, surrounded by politicians and reporters. He was the star of the night. But Maya's eyes caught something no one else seemed to notice. A teenage girl, about 17, wearing a beautiful navy blue gown, stood quietly in the corner near a marble column. She wasn't laughing, wasn't mingling, just staring at people's lips, trying desperately to follow conversations she couldn't hear. Maya recognized it immediately. The girl was deaf and invisible to everyone. As the music swelled, people walked past the girl, sometimes giving her a polite nod, but no one truly engaged her. Not even her own father, the billionaire whose charity gala was supposedly about inclusion. Maya's chest tightened with anger. She knew that feeling all too well, being treated like background noise in a world that pretended to care. A man's smug voice interrupted her thoughts. "Sad, isn't it? Poor Richard. Must be tough parading around with a situation like that." Maya turned sharply. "A situation?" The man lowered his voice. "A disabled daughter. Tragic, really. Of course, he loves her, but it's embarrassing at public events." Maya's fists curled. She wanted to scream, but instead, she walked straight to the girl. She raised her hands and signed. "Hi, I'm Maya. What's your name?" For a moment, the teenager's eyes widened in shock, then lit up with pure joy. Finally, someone saw her. "I'm an interpreter," Maya smiled. "But tonight, I'm just here watching rich people pretend to care about charity." Isabella covered her mouth, laughing silently. For the first time that night, she wasn't invisible. As their conversation continued, Isabella's sharp personality came alive. She cracked sarcastic jokes about the tacky gold decorations and rolled her eyes at the fake smiles. But then her smile faded as she glanced at her father. "You know what's ironic?" Isabella sighed bitterly. "My dad donated $3 million tonight for special education programs, yet he's never learned a single sign to talk to me." Maya's jaw clenched. Richard Anderson was across the hall, shaking hands and giving speeches about giving voice to the voiceless, while his own daughter stood in silence 10 feet away. Maya leaned closer. "Would you like me to say something to him?" Isabella's eyes widened in panic. "No, he'll be furious. He doesn't like strangers interfering." Maya gave a slow, confident smile. "Sweetheart, let me worry about your father's anger. Some conversations need to happen, whether powerful men want them or not." Later that evening, Richard took the stage for his keynote speech. His booming voice filled the room. "We are building bridges for those who cannot speak. Together, we are giving hope, giving power, giving voice. Maya saw Isabella flinch at every word. The hypocrisy was suffocating. And that's when Maya made her move. She walked straight up to Richard as he stepped off the stage, his entourage buzzing around him. "Mr. Anderson," she called loudly enough for guests to hear. "May I have a word?" Richard turned, irritation flashing in his eyes. He scanned her up and down, the way rich men do when they want to remind you of your place. "And you are?" he asked coldly. "Maya Johnson. I'm the sign language interpreter, and I just spent the last hour talking to your daughter. The daughter who has been ignored by everyone in this room, including you." The room went quiet. People stopped talking. Even the waiters froze. Richard's smile turned icy. "Miss Johnson, you have no idea what you're talking about. Isabella is perfectly fine." "Fine? She's been standing alone, invisible, at her own father's event." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Isabella's eyes widened from across the room. Richard's jaw tightened. "Watch your tone. You don't know who you're talking to." "I know exactly who I'm talking to," Maya shot back. "A man who can donate millions to strangers, but won't learn 5 minutes of sign language to tell his daughter he loves her." Gasps echoed. Richard's face turned crimson. He snapped his fingers for security. "Remove this woman!" But before the guards could move, Isabella stepped forward, her voice trembling, unsteady, but strong enough to silence the room. "No, she stays. She is my guest." The ballroom froze. Guests exchanged shocked glances. Isabella rarely spoke in public. Richard's face dropped. "Isabella, come back!" "No, Dad," Isabella's voice shook, but her words were sharp. "For years you've talked about me like I'm a burden. You donate millions, but you can't even talk to me without a translator. Do you know how that feels?" The billionaire had no script for this moment. His mask cracked. Trying to salvage his reputation, Richard forced a smile. "Fine, Miss Johnson. Since you care so much, you're hired as Isabella's interpreter." The crowd nodded approvingly, thinking the problem was solved. But Maya wasn't done. She tilted her head, smirking. "Interesting offer, but I have a counter-proposal." Richard raised a brow. "Oh?" "6 months. You train with me twice a week. At the end, if you can hold a full 30-minute conversation with Isabella in ASL, I'll work for free the rest of the year. But if you fail, you donate $5 million to Chicago public schools for sign language education. And you admit publicly that you failed as a father." The ballroom fell into dead silence. Richard froze. To say no would expose him as a fraud. To say yes meant risking humiliation. Maya leaned closer. "You built empires, Richard. You speak 4 languages. Surely learning your own daughters can't be harder than making billion-dollar deals." The trap was perfect. Finally, with a forced smile, Richard extended his hand. 6 months. But when I win, you'll learn your place." Maya shook his hand. "Deal. But remember, Mr. Anderson, unlike you, I never make bets I'm not sure I'll win." What no one knew that night was that Maya had already done her research. She knew secrets about Richard Anderson's past that even his closest allies didn't. Secrets that could bring his empire crashing down. This wasn't just about teaching a father sign language. It was about exposing hypocrisy and giving a voice to those who had been silenced for too long. And for Isabella, it was the first time in years that she finally felt seen. Too many people talk about inclusion while ignoring the ones who need it most. Real love means effort, Real inclusion means communication, and sometimes it only takes one brave person to remind the world, no one deserves to be invisible.